Hello everyone, in this video we will be restoring this destroyed iPhone 6s to a full functional condition. This iPhone has completely destroyed LCD panel, it has missing components and its motherboard is iCloud locked. In order to restore this phone I need the toolkit, the gasket for the dust and the adhesive stickers for the battery, the new replacement screen, the tempered glass screen protector, and some metal holders and screws because this phone has missing ones, and also the new replacement battery. Everything in general looks like this, including new motherboard. Actually, I didn't plan to restore this phone and I was going to use it as a part donor, but my colleague asked me to assemble this phone for him, actually for his kid to school, and I have calculated the repair cost of this phone, and my colleague, which is at the same time my subscriber, agreed. I have ordered the parts for this phone and now I'm reassembling it. As you can see, I have started the procedure of the screen replacement, and the first thing we need to do is to remove this metal plate which enforces the LCD panel of the phone. The metal plate has been removed from the screen, and now I need to get the rest of the parts from this old screen and place it into the new one. So this is the metal plate for the speaker and for the front camera. This metal plate holds these parts together. Now we need to put these parts of the old screen. Now you can see the speaker, and also the rest of the parts are now removed from the old LCD panel and will be transferred into the new one. The last thing we need to transfer from this LCD panel to our new replacement LCD panel is the holder for the front camera. Some replacement panels have these holders, some of them are not. In our case, our replacement panel doesn't have this holder, so we need to transfer this holder from the old LCD panel to a new one. Now we need to remove this protective film from the place where all the contacts for the front camera and for the speaker will be placed. So please be extremely careful not to rip these cables, otherwise you need to replace everything in all assembly and it is very expensive. Now installing the speaker back to its position. And after everything is installed on its place, we can put this metal holder for all this assembly in order to hold it back on its place. Now we need to remove the protective film from the new LCD panel to install this metal plate which enforces the screen. The process is very simple, it is opposite to the things that we have done before. As you can see, some parts left from the old LCD panel, we don't need it. Installing the metal plate on the new LCD panel and putting the screws back to their positions. As you can see, this new LCD panel has the lower part, whereas you can see the hole for the home button. Our phone didn't have this home button, so I have ordered the new motherboard with the home button in order to make this iPhone, to make this Touch ID, this iPhone have Touch ID functionality. As you know, each home button is attached to its own motherboard, and if you damage the home button, you can replace it, but you will lose Touch ID functionality for your iPhone forever. My colleague and the customer offered me to install the motherboard with Touch ID functionality, so I have ordered the new replacement motherboard with this Touch ID, with this home button, and now we need to install this home button into our new replacement screen. And this iPhone will not just be restored, but will get the full functionality, including Touch ID as well. So this is very, very good for this phone, which was going to be thrown as a garbage. Yeah, pardon my English, dear subscribers, I haven't been practicing for a long time, so if I do the mistakes, please don't be offended. Now we're installing the metal holder for the home button, and this finalizes the LCD screen replacement. The LCD screen is fully assembled, and now we can start swapping the motherboard. First, we need to disconnect the speaker and the rear camera contacts and the antenna contacts as well. The cables for antenna are very thin, so please be extremely careful not to damage or rip these cables, otherwise you will need to replace it with new ones. As soon as all the contacts are removed, we can unscrew the screws which are holding motherboard in the housing, but please make sure to arrange the screws as they were on the phone, because when swapping the motherboard, the screws have different length. Just if you miss the screws, you can simply damage the motherboard or your housing as well. But before we completely remove the motherboard from the housing, we need to disconnect the switch and volume button from the motherboard, and for this I need to remove the small metal plate which holds the contact on its position. And also we can see the Wi-Fi antenna which is located nearby. This Wi-Fi antenna should be removed, as we're going to swap the motherboard. Also make sure to unscrew these two tiny screws for the grounding clips, because they are also holding the Wi-Fi antenna in the housing. As soon as the Wi-Fi antenna is removed, we can unscrew the last two screws. One of them was under the Wi-Fi antenna, we didn't see it. But now we can have an access to the screw, and we can remove all remaining screws, and we are free to remove the motherboard from the housing. Okay, so nothing holds the motherboard now, and we are ready to remove this iCloud locked motherboard and to replace it with a new one. This is very sad that I need to throw this very good and working motherboard, because it is iCloud locked only. All components within this motherboard are working properly, and this is the very strange policy from the Apple company that forces users to throw away absolutely working and good components from the phone only because you cannot unblock them. So this is not ecologically friendly, this is not the user friendly. So this is the way Apple forces you to purchase new devices, not repairing the old ones. I find it very strange, but this is the policy of the Apple company, and there is nothing I can do about it. Only like to repair the phones which are still repairable. Now we're installing the new replacement motherboard to its new housing, to its new house. And this is the very strange yellow sticker which is sticked to the motherboard, and probably I will remove it from this motherboard because I don't like when something, I don't know, with something extra is located into the device, some extra things that shouldn't be inside. So this sticker will be removed from the motherboard as soon as they finalize swapping this motherboard. Now motherboard is on its place and we can start to screw it back to its position, but before we need to connect the speaker, the rear camera and antenna cables back to it. So we need to make sure that all contacts are connected properly, otherwise we will be forced to reopen the iPhone again and to check all the contacts again. So please be sure that all contacts are connected properly. As soon as everything is good to go with the contacts, we can start to place the screws back to their positions. Now we're installing the Wi-Fi antenna. Make sure to screw these two tiny screws for the grounding clips. This is very important. It is very difficult to screw these tiny screws, but there is nothing we can do about it. The grounding clips should be installed properly for the safety's sake. And now we're placing screws for the Wi-Fi antenna as they were in their position before. So this is all with the Wi-Fi antenna. Putting the metal plate for the contact of the switch and volume button. This small metal plate prevents contact from being disconnected if, for example, somebody throws this phone away. All contacts in the iPhone has these metal plates, and they guarantee that the contacts will be on their position, even if something happens with the phone. Now after everything is installed, as you can see, I have already installed the battery inside this housing, and now I need to clean all the places where the dust absorbing gasket will be placed. So this is the very important to push this dust absorbing gasket, and now as you can see I have removed this disgusting yellow sticker from the motherboard, because I like when everything looks as authentic as it's possible in the phone. Moreover, this phone will be sold to my colleague and I want everything to be perfect inside it. So many workshops ignoring this dust absorbing gasket, but I don't recommend to ignore it. It's better to waste 5 more minutes of your time, but if you install this dust absorbing gasket, you will keep your phone clean inside, because this gasket really helps to prevent dust or dirt to get inside your phone. This procedure is not very complicated and I highly recommend to install it just to waste 5 more minutes of your time, but everything will be done properly. As soon as the gasket is installed, we are ready to put the LCD screen back to connect the new LCD screen back to the motherboard, and then we will check is everything is okay with this motherboard. Also, we're placing the new metal plate holder for the contacts. As you remember, I have purchased these screws and these plates for this phone separately because this phone had many missing parts, and some of the parts I had to purchase in order to assemble this phone properly. But I think it's worth it. Now we have the fully functioning iPhone 6s for 16GB, and this iPhone will be used by the son of my colleague, and I hope that this phone will be useful for him. And now, as you can see, the LCD panel is working, and it is time to put this LCD back to the housing and screw these two bottom screws which are holding the LCD panel in the housing. And as soon as all screws are on their positions, so the restoration of the phone is completed, and the result, I think, is very good. The phone is fully functional. It locates the network, it locates the Wi-Fi signal, so the screen, everything works properly, the battery health is 100%. And the last thing we need to do to finalize the restoration of our iPhone is to place the tempered glass screen protector. Removing the protective film and installing the tempered glass screen protector on its place. Very simple procedure finalizes our restoration. So removing the air bubbles under the glass and checking does the glass influence on the LCD panel functionality, sensor functionality. Everything looks good with this phone. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and please subscribe on my channel and stay with me because I will be placing new restoration videos just like this one. Have a nice day. I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.